Have you ever wondered why your green tea at home hasn't tasted right, or at least in comparison to what you may have had in Japan perhaps? And it doesn't necessarily mean the water you use, oddly enough. Many people drink green tea, but few know how to make it properly, and may have been just preparing it the wrong way. So let's spill the tea. In this video, we'll learn how to make Japanese green tea the proper way so you can enjoy it at home. We're going to cover 3 important points that people tend to forget that have been around for centuries in brewing Japanese green tea. First, let's make sure we cover the basics as what you would need and also how to use it. Starting off with what is the best tea to use, and the best tea of choice is loose-leaf green tea. Unlike black tea, which is a more sturdy tea and it's not like a lot of Western or Chinese teas either, Japanese green tea is one of the most delicate teas. So going to traditional or local Japanese tea shops is the best thing to do as well. So please go support them, especially the older shops. I usually choose the lower price range of a finer tea leaf, but it's still just as good. And in a lot of homes, you'll see these containers that can put your loose leaf green tea in, which is somewhat airtight. But unlike this container, something I learned recently from tea shopkeepers is it's best to have it in a more airtight bag in order for air not to get into it. Because as it is delicate, air ages it more quickly. So it's not like your regular tea bag or other kinds of more sturdy tea. It's actually a lot more delicate. Also, teapots are very important, unlike Western teapots, which typically have a wire mesh inside, or you use some sort of mesh in order to be able to filter the tea and not let the tea leaves escape into your cup. And they do even tend to have holes built into the pot in order to help strain it a bit as well. But usually these holes are too big for Japanese fine green tea. Even another type of Japanese teapot unfortunately doesn't seem to match, even though it's well designed and looks very beautiful. The holes are still somewhat smaller, but not small enough for, again, fine green tea. These kind of teapots are best for more bigger leaf teas, such as using black tea or even black bean tea. You may even think of iron pots may be a good idea. But there is a problem with this that people tend to miss, that it's made of metal. And the meshes or the nets are made of metal, the iron pots are made of metal, and according to a veteran tea shop owner, metal touching green tea with hot water actually deteriorates the flavor of the tea, making it bitter or sour. So you're probably wondering, well, why do Japanese have iron pots to begin with? Well, they are just actually kettles. They are to heat the water originally. I have my own here, which is quite big, so I can boil a whole lot of water. But even though there's really small ones that are very beautiful and intricate, they're actually more for aesthetics. So they're tending to forget actually what they're supposed to be used for properly, but not delicate green tea. So instead, it's recommended to use a porcelain teapot. Also, I recommend getting for this is having these plastic rubber tips to put on the spout in order to protect it from being damaged and help it last a lot longer. Yet, what's so good about porcelain teapots is it has very small holes, fine holes, built into the teapot of the porcelain so that the tea doesn't escape into your cup. So it's not added net or mesh or of any sort like that. It's just built in. And it's funny when you buy a teapot or a kettle, they tend to have these metal nets with them, which is really not useful, especially when you're trying to make a good cup of green tea. So you have to avoid letting metal touch with hot water to the green tea so you can maybe use it just for something else for your regular tea, or you can basically just let it go. So it's not saying that these meshes are bad for any kind of tea. They're still very good for making your regular black teas and other teas. It's just, again, not good for green tea. Also, having Japanese teacups is also very nice as well. Here's an example of some of the sets that I actually have acquired over the years. Different shapes and sizes. Really fun to have, especially when guests are over. But since today a lot of people wanted to drink tea daily and have a nice big cup of tea, I'm going to use my bigger cup. As well as I'm going to use 2 cups in order to demonstrate also something else very important. But first things first, we need to boil our water completely, just to make sure it's nice and clean. And this leads us into our first point, which is once you completely boil the water, we don't put it directly in the tea. It'd be too hot over 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. You have to wait for it to cool down to 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, which takes about 2 or 3 minutes, which is one way of doing it. You can also heat the teapot up with the hot water and toss it out once it's boiled. And then while you're waiting, this could be the perfect time to put the tea into your teapot, which is a teaspoon for each cup that you're going to be brewing. I'm using sencha here, which is a type of ryokucha or a.k.a. green tea. Yes, they were kind of hefty teaspoons. And to our second point is putting the hot water into the teacups, which is also the best thing to do first to heat the teacups, but also another way to lower the temperature, which is the most common way. And note, if you know that Asian teacups don't have handles, it's the best way to know it's too hot to handle or just right to drink. So if it's too hot to hold the cup, it's probably too hot to drink. Then you just pour these cups of water into the teapot, which make it just the right temperature for your sencha. And this is a perfect way to make sure it protects it from destroying the natural antioxidants and nutrients from the tea. Which brings us to our third and final point. The steep time is under a minute, and also how to pour it, which is steep time is usually about 30 to 60 seconds, or in between about 45 is good. Give it a little swish and start pouring it into the cups. But be sure that you are rotate pouring, or we call mawashi tsugi, in order to balance out the flavor so that not one cup is thinner than the other and the other being too strong. This is being able to make sure that everyone gets an even flavor. And make sure you let every drop out into the cups if possible. So shaking a little bit is also a typical way of doing it, just being careful not to lose the lid or knock into the cup. And you can start enjoying your tea. And if you want another cup, don't throw the tea leaves right away. You can actually brew them up to 2 or 3 times. Of course, the flavor is going to change a little bit, but they do say the second brew is the best. Slightly lighter, but still very fragrant. And you notice that the color is still very green, whether the leaves themselves or even the tea. So when you brew the hot water again, this time you will just need to have to wait a few minutes to make sure the water is cooled down for the second brew. And then start enjoying. Another good tip is that if you don't want to have hot green tea, an easy way is you can make your own cold brewed tea by putting the same green tea into tea bags and putting them into containers of water or bottles of water and let them sit in the fridge for about an hour or two, or even overnight is fine. And it makes it the perfect summertime cold brew green tea, which actually even has less caffeine and a more refreshing flavor, which also may be perfect for the kids. One thing you do need to be careful is that you don't want to have green tea on an empty stomach, as it has natural enzymes. Though it's good for you, it's going to be too much for your stomach. So having the balance of having a little something on your stomach to help and make it more digestible. I made the mistake the other day of just drinking straight green tea before going for a walk, and it made me feel nauseous. So if you do feel nauseous, it's probably the tea. So be sure to have a non-metallic teapot with preferably a built-in fine tea filter. Be sure to completely boil water, let it sit, or you can just put it into your teacups to heat it up. You also have the option of being able to heat up your teapot ahead of time by taking out that water that you use it to heat it. And a spoonful of green tea for each cup. And make sure you rotate the pours and able to get that balanced flavor. And don't drink it if you can't hold the cup, because it'll be just too hot. And enjoy your tea. So give these tips a try the next time you make green tea and see if you see a difference. 最後まで見てくれてありがとうございました。また次回の動画で会いましょう。Thanks for watching till the end and we'll see you in the next video.